we're doing a topic that everyone is talking about these days. Well, I think it is AI crypto. So, is it a central fusion or forced marriage? I would say the past 2 years is probably, I don't know, one of the hypest topics that everyone has been discussing. This year, I guess like the hype has died down a little bit, but at InnovateDenver, the entire programming at a crypto conference is all AI crypto. So excited to hear what everyone here has to talk about, and hopefully they share some knowledge. Maybe we can start by a quick intro on each of you guys, but mostly what is your experience on the AI space, maybe the past 2 to 4 years? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello everyone, Raghav this side from Longhash Ventures. Longhash is a Singapore-based crypto VC. And the experience on the AI side has been that today I'm spending maybe quite a few hours every day just doing a bunch of stuff using AI. Have backed a few great teams working on the intersection of crypto AI like Virtuals Protocol, Hyperbolic, Theoric, which are doing great. And I think that in the last 2 to 4 years, we've definitely seen a transition from like a hype phase to some value being delivered. So excited about how that shift continues to go on from here.
Hi, my name is Jake Brookman. I'm the CEO and founder of CoinFund, and for the last 10 years or so, we've been focused on crypto. We've been a crypto-focused investment firm. In terms of AI, I have a background in math and computer science. I've been following that space for a long time, and as a crypto fund, we've been investing on the intersection of AI and Web3 as far back as 2020, starting with Sam Altman's project called World, and then subsequently into Jensen, companies like Jensen, Pluralis, Prime Intellect, Bagel, and Pearl, and others. So I've done a lot of work on that intersection, and excited to talk about that.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Jonathan King. Everyone calls me JK. I lead the investments team at Coinbase Ventures. On our side, we've been investing in like the intersection of crypto and AI for the last like 3-4 plus years. Also started with World very early on, and like a couple of other I like to kind of call it like decentralized AI from all of the infrastructure and that's being built to now on-chain AI and things around like actual agents being deployed into DeFi. So really excited to kind of see how the space has matured, and I think there are some aspects that are still hype, but there is like some real tangible value that's being driven at this time as well.
Hey guys, Jake from State Farm here. In all seriousness, Jake from Zero Gravity. I've been building in this space for 10 beautiful years, and it first started out on the research and academia side. I then spent about 3.5 years scaling infrastructure with Chainlink Labs that secures DeFi and traditional finance. And then I got bit by the AI bug about 2 years ago, similar to how I got into the space with the blockchain bug. And we came out of stealth in March with Zero Gravity, which is an AI operating system that comprises of 4 key components: a layer 1 purpose-built AI blockchain, decentralized storage, decentralized compute, and a data availability layer. And those are the 4 kind of meat and potato chunks that allow you to build fully on-chain AI today. And we're excited to go to market with a lot of folks on this panel as well.
Great. So I just want to do a quick temperature check. There's a lot of debate if we're coming out of the hype phase. Are we still in the hype phase? I would love to just get your thoughts on where you currently believe we are on the hype phase, and if you really see if crypto needs AI, or is it mostly right now, crypto using AI?
Right. I think given the potential of crypto as well as AI, there's definitely an overhype around the possibilities, but I think we are at a phase where we are moving from experimentation phase to delivering actual value. So in the last few months only, we have seen significant adoption, not just from the crypto native community, but let's say Stripe talking about support for X402 within their infrastructure, because the head of product at Stripe himself mentioned that agents need programmatic instant payments. So I think we are definitely seeing a phase where crypto is delivering value. And I think there was, of course, a hype where, at a certain point, there was a lot of conversations about decentralized training happening for AI foundation models. but that hype did not pan out as much as it was hyped, primarily because there was lack of developer tooling or for a few other reasons. So now, as we move towards adoption phase, now we are seeing that the initial overhype is kind of dying down. And given the market conditions in crypto, everyone wants to focus on real use cases, revenue, and traction. And we are slowly building towards that. So smart contract wallets or even session keys, a lot of these things are enabling AI agents to actually use the crypto rails. So I think that's been the case. Of course, crypto will always need AI, but I think there are certain pockets where AI definitely needs crypto, and there will be a significant adoption.
I have focused on that intersection from two main perspectives. One of them is decentralized training, and one of them is AI agents creating demand for Web3. In decentralized training, this is something that 2 years ago was thought and said to be completely impossible. I think we've made massive progress in that space. That is now a highly published area of AI research. It's in all the major conferences. Our team at Pluralis has published 3 papers at NeurIPS, in a single NeurIPS, which is almost unprecedented for a small 10-person startup. But it remains kind of in development, right? We think that these networks, these swarms of GPUs that are heterogeneous, will eventually be able to train frontier-sized models, but that's not the case in this moment. However, there's a lot of people in the traditional AI world, including Google, are starting to recognize that different degrees of decentralization and distribution are going to be necessary to serve the AI processes that are needed at scale, given the demand that's going to happen. So these are things like, distributing inference, distributing training. On the AI agent side, I think it's a fairly consensus view within Web3 that agents are going to need a lot of Web3 primitives. I agree with that view. I see data points around that in the market today. I see, just this morning, I saw a startup where agents were paying to inference other models using USDC. There were requests coming in every couple of seconds to do that. I see the X402 activity. I see projects like BankerBot and Conway Research who are launching agents that have their own wallets that are fully autonomous. And I think this is a very important argument, like, because agents are not legal persons, because they cannot own a bank account themselves, if we posit a world where agents are going to be acting on their own behalf, they're going to need things like their own wallets, their own identity, the ability to come to agreement with other agents or other entities, and they will almost surely reach for blockchains to get this done. I think that's pretty obvious to us, but the evidence is early. The evidence is thin. And in a way, it's our responsibility in the space to make that happen more. But I do think it will happen.
Before we continue, I just want to double click on one thing on, decentralized training has been a big topic, but it's one of the things that maybe fits this topic, I guess, about being forced marriage, because a lot of times you see the benchmarks where centralized is performing better. Do you see it, especially with Pluralis and the research that they've been, the progress they've been doing? Is it something that is decentralized training going to become better than what we have already?
Maybe, but here would be my arguments as to why decentralized training would work and become a big space. Argument number one is that there are companies out there that do not pre-train because it's too expensive. It's like tens of millions of dollars, and they don't have in-house expertise. If you lower that barrier to entry using an open network, companies can then come in with their proprietary data and essentially finance pre-training across other participants, tokenize the result. That could work. Reason number two, and this is up for debate, but do you guys think that Meta and China will continue to issue open models for a long time? If not, then the average consumer is going to get screwed, except for decentralized training networks being able to create open public models that compete on the frontier. And finally, we talk a lot about human in the loop, or excuse me, we talk a lot about loops within AI training where AI is training itself, but what AI doesn't tell you is that there's always a human in the loop there. So now imagine we're in a world of millions and millions of AI agents who actually want to pre-train models for themselves, my bet is they would be doing that in an open public network like Pluralis's network.
Thank you. And JK, you want to?
Yeah, like I said earlier, my focus has been like on this intersection and difference between decentralized AI and on-chain AI. So on the decentralized AI, I'll admit, like I was very skeptical of like, hey, how would this be 10x better than what exists today? Especially like my background used to be working at Microsoft building ML, right? When machine learning was the thing before AI nomenclature took over. And I always thought about like the developer experience. And so when that translated over to distributed GPU networks, data networks, I always found that the DevX was lacking. Fast forward to now, I think there's been like leaps and bounds in terms of providing really great DevX. And so I see real demand for distributed compute networks, right? Like if you look at everything that's been happening with OpenClaw and people going out and buying like tens like of Mac Minis, for example, and then going to something like Exo to stitch them together, right, and creating their own mini compute clusters. Again, using the primitives of the blockchain to simplify and streamline and lower the barrier of entry for access. Similar thing on data, right? Agents need copious amounts of data. They need access to models, and so some of the crypto companies that have been building like some of these like model networks and making it easier for these agents to access like really good intelligence. Again, a lot of demand. On the on-chain AI side, I think, again, there is demand there, but I think oftentimes we conflate demand with token price, right? And so we kind of went through this period in 2024 where there was a lot of agents, there were tokens that were being launched associated with these agents, but the activity tied to those agents didn't necessarily reflect back to the tokens, right? But if you looked at the activity that was being driven, there was real world activity. There's great examples of protocols that were building agents, integrating naturally into their front end, right? So we have an investment into a protocol, Borrowlin protocol on base called Moonwell, their Mamo agent. Great job. It was an early example of you can talk to it and it can deploy into your Borrow or your Lend Vault, USDC. Giza was another example. If you looked at the metrics in terms of agents under management, and that was steadily increasing. So, like, again, I saw like these examples of there is demand happening. I think is a very early in terms of how that reflects to actual value accrual. But I think the demand is there. And then lastly, just to give like a hat tip to a lot of activity on X402. I think like agentic payments and agentic commerce is probably one of the areas where the actual proof points is very limited today. But I do think that we're getting all of the right kind of foundational elements in place where we are going to see this Cambrian explosion of agents making payments on top of stablecoin rails because of the programmatic nature of it all.
Yeah, well said, JK. I think that in my life, I was inspired to get into the blockchain space because I heard the crippling statistic that billions of people were underbanked. They simply didn't qualify for the criteria to open a bank account. Could be for many different reasons, but I got into the space because I realized that crypto and blockchain is a great way to provide access to financial health and interoperability to anyone. All you need is a smartphone and a connection to send value across the world. And I think agents kind of find themselves in that position today, where they just don't meet the criteria to bank. Well, here comes blockchain, right? I don't think it's this forced marriage. I think it's really the solution for now to transact value through agentic workflows, and X402 is a great example. Also, the new agentic wallets that Coinbase came out with this week is a great example. But relating it back to zero G, of course, we have a settlement layer, and I think a lot of blockchains that are staying up to date today are bolting on we are now a settlement layer for AI and agents. All of a sudden, our token for our blockchain can be used to transact value on agents on our rails. We started with the problem statement to build out infrastructure that satisfies all the use cases that AI may need on chain. Data, storage, and compute with this settlement layer in mind. So it's purpose-built, full-stack platform where you can store data, it's encrypted, it's transparent, it's something you can send, something you can receive, something you can monetize. You can of course, fine-tune and train agents with your own proprietary encrypted data and trusted execution environments. We've had success on the research side where we trained a 107 billion parameter model, decentralized, very cool stuff happening on the research side. But all of this together, Zero G is serving the meat and potatoes of that tech stack. So we're creating self-sovereign AI, right? Democratized AI, where the hyperscalers that own the data, control the compute, keep the black box themselves, have crazy margins, all of a sudden have some competition. They'll probably try to buy us all out, right, and just kill us off, but in the meantime, we're providing alternative solutions for use cases that need this to happen. Healthcare, reg tech, legal tech, government tech, it's a non-starter to work with some of these black boxes today. They're getting involved on POCs and, of course, decentralized, democratized AI building with Zero G. And it's great to see them get involved, and it's also great to actually complement the hyperscalers with some of the alternative solutions that they're not focused on building themselves have today. We're partnered with Google, we're partnered with Amazon, we're servicing the trusted execution environments they need, we're servicing the decentralized AI use cases they have, and of course builders on Zero G can still use those resources and pick out the one or two things that really matter to them. Could be storage, it could be compute, it could be the settlement layer, and we've just made it non-technical. I don't have a technical background, but we now can agentic code all these use cases with Zero G. You just text a prompt, it takes everything that Zero G has built today, builds it for you, and then there you've got your MVP in like an hour, so you can save time on the big ideas and not just the little implementations.
Well, it's great that all of you guys brought up agents, because that's definitely the hottest topic that everyone's talking about today. We're running out of time, so maybe we'll all end on an agent topic or agent question. Right now, I would say a year ago, agents were at its infancy. Virtuals kind of really spawned the idea of agents, but obviously, kind of shown that it was almost like, little baby agents of kind of like AI bots type of stuff. But then, most recently, OpenClaw has taken over everything, right? So is that the ChatGPT moment for agents? Are we still early in it? I still get a lot of questions from everyone. Is where are we seeing volume that's happening in this quote unquote agentic agents payment space? For you guys, where do you I want to put you guys on the spot. So like, where do you guys think agents are going to be in the next year or the next 5 years too? And what are some of the use cases that you see in the short term that are going to be mainstream use cases? And Jake, I saw that you recently commented on someone saying, there's going to be no agent payments. Everyone's just going to use agent credit cards, right? Or you're responding to someone's tweet about that. So maybe we could comment on all of these.
Yeah, so the way I use agents right now, I need 10 API services for my agent to perform. And the way I'm doing it, I'm going on all of those 10 services, generating an API key and giving it to my agent to go and execute. Ideally, in the near future, as Jake has said, that with X402 and wallets being enabled for agents, we have the infrastructure which is ready. But there's going to be an adoption curve where all these merchants and service providers have to enable these services for agents. So lately, you might have seen a lot of these, like CoinGecko came out and said, now our APIs can be accessed directly by the agent. Right now, I use CoinGecko API manually and then give it to my agent to do those queries, right? Similarly, dBridge recently came out with an MCP which allows agents to execute transactions directly. So I think we are at a point where the infrastructure is more or less ready. Of course, there's going to be continuous improvement over time, but the bare minimum infrastructure is there for the agents to perform end-to-end functions autonomously. But the adoption from the merchants is going to take time. If you look at the full discourse, there's so much conversations about how every business has to become agentic ready. The GTM strategies are now not being built purely for human beings, they're being built for AI. Something even like Cloudflare, who has built so much of their business building anti-bot measures for businesses so far, are now coming out with agent registry, agent identity, and enabling agents to actually query these businesses. Or Google is working on Chrome MPC so that agents can actually go through the website. Cloudflare announced Markdown. So I think we're going through that transition phase. And within a year, most of the forward-thinking businesses will make their business accessible to agents And because they will do so with the existing infrastructure, I believe that agents will be able to autonomously execute a lot of tasks. And the pricing also will change. Like instead of selling subscription fee, it's going to be pay per API call so that agents can access those services programmatically. But there needs to be a lot of things that still need to be built. Like, for example, identity and reputation layer. How do agents identify what service to use, which service is reliable? How do you build guardrails around policy engine? How much agent can spend and what kind of services can it spend? How does the agent become more personalized based on the past history of purchases? So I think there's a huge scope of improvement in all of those stats. But at the same time, I think we are definitely at a point where we'll see agents actually doing autonomously these tasks.
I think to answer your timing question, I think it's early in agents, but we're definitely making clear progress, right? At the bottom of that stack, you have things like Claude Code, which you can use for coding, but you could also use it for not coding things. And that is a layer that's really meant for technical people. That layer has been growing 10x year over year for the last 3 years. I think what OpenClaw represents is that once you make it slightly more accessible to slightly less technical people, you just saw incredible uptake. I mean, this project went to 200,000 GitHub stars in like 3 months, which is unprecedented growth. And it really represents, again, like still enthusiasts, but like less technical enthusiasts kind of adopting the tech. And you can imagine what happens next, right? Like you package it up into an even less technical package, and the agents work better and they're more effective, and then they can serve that layer as well, and you're going to have more uptake there. So I think we're at the beginning of that journey, but it's like very clear that they're proliferating, they're becoming more effective. I mean, the other day I logged into my iOS app for the Florida DMV, and it had an agent in it. So I'm like, all right, we're there now.
Yeah, I agree with Jake. Like the proliferation of agents is definitely happening. I will say, like OpenClaw caught a lot of us by surprise, right? Unprecedented level of growth. Having set up my own OpenClaw agent, it is not ready for consumers by any means, right? However, it does paint the future of what this whole like personal AI, kind of like paradigm could look like, right? Because now you're slowly giving this agent more and more access to you, understanding you. It's starting to automate like plethora of workflows in your daily work plus professional life. I think that's very interesting. However, it does come to, it brings into question, how do we handle things like privacy, right? And all of the data that I'm interacting with this agent. Payments, I definitely believe is going to happen over stablecoin rails. Having had like last month a very high Anthropic bill, I'm just like, okay, I need to, one, do better model routing, and then two, this needs to be as programmatic as possible that I'm just paying on a per inference basis. And I think what we're going to slowly start to see, like OpenClaw kind of sets the foundation. We already saw like Manus has come out with its own front end. That's Meta's response to OpenClaw. Now that OpenClaw, the developer Peter, is acquired by OpenAI, of course OpenAI is going to come out with its own consumer agent stack. I'm, hypothesizing that, well, who's going to be best positioned to deliver a personal AI agent? And it's probably going to be Apple or Android, in my opinion, because literally your entire life is on your cellular device, right? If they can actually execute it. So again, I think like OpenClaw has set the foundation, but there's a lot of work to be done before this can be like a mass consumer-ready AI, and I think that's going to happen a lot quicker than most of us perceive.
I'll leave you with one story, a short story. The infrastructure, we've built a lot of it. To your point, Jake, the products are coming now. They should be intuitive, non-technical. We're very focused on the product side now that the infrastructure on Zero G is very robust. We created a new ERC standard, ERC 7857. It's called an intelligent NFT. And on the way here, I created an INFT for this week. I trained it on all my personal data. I granted it access to how I talk, my emails, things that a lot of people already do with Anthropic today. But it's in a trusted execution environment. And then, of course, I fine-tuned it on who I am and who I want it to be. I plugged in all of our documentation. I plugged in all of our, kind of alpha that we have internally at the company, what's coming out. I trained it, and then I encrypted everything. All the metadata was encrypted. And so now I have a digital me. it's quite literally Jake's assistant. It has an avatar that's AI of my face. And if I were to connect with you, I've been doing this throughout the week, I'll add you to a Telegram with me and my agent. And it asks you questions, and you respond, and it intelligently answers, how I would. And then it'll set up a call for me. And then it'll share any information about Zero G that you may want to know. But it's all encrypted. And if I wanted to sell you this agent, I could, because I own it, just me, just my keys. And so I could go, if you really liked me that much, you could buy Jake and have me in your wallet and use me. But only you could use me. It's encrypted, it's private. And I think that's a really cool tool that people may want to use themselves. Making digital me's that are safe and secure that you own, that only you own. And those are cool products that I think consumers like. And that'll help people technically build with Zero G infrastructure because it's just embedded. You don't have to be technical, but it's fun to use.
I think we're definitely at a point where I can see something like Jarvis from Iron Man being a reality, because we have definitely seen so much progress even in speech to text. Then I would imagine that in a year's time, instead of like me giving context to my agent, I could just speak to like my own Jarvis, and he does everything for me.
Well, thank you guys for instilling your wisdom here. I wish we had more time to talk about all of this, as AI crypto is a major topic. But these guys have been pounding the table on AI crypto for before it was popular. So hopefully you guys find time to chat with them or follow them on social media on X. But yeah, no, thank you guys for the time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.